Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we are doing a best ball draft, which I will title it as a mock draft on Underdog Fantasy. The link down below is how you guys can join on the website and deposit on there. If you end up using my code or my link when you deposit onto the website, I would really appreciate it. It helps me out a whole ton, and hopefully I can draft with you guys in the future. Eventually, I talked with the owner of the website, and he told me that they're going to be adding in private games relatively soon for the NFL. So when that happens, I will make sure to invite you guys to private games. You can just add me on here. My name is Notorious, FNTSY. Again, code Notorious when you're depositing, or use the link down below in the description. So let's get into it. So what this website is, it is a best ball drafting site. You guys have seen me use other best ball drafting sites before on my channel based on last year. This is a different one. This is one of the biggest best ball websites, and it's very fun to play on. I have not used it yet until this video, but I have watched tons of videos of people using it, and I can say that it is a pretty good product, and I would not advertise something personally that I did not use or I did not think has potential to be very good, like I believe Underdog does. So let's get into the draft. Obviously, if you guys do enjoy, again, hit that subscribe button. So the first pick of the draft was Christian McCaffrey, followed by Dalvin Cook. That's going to be a very typical 1-2 to begin your guys' 2021 fantasy football drafts. Interesting enough, it is followed by JT, Jonathan Taylor. Now, if I'm being honest with you guys, to me, the third pick is going to be a variety of guys. It's going to be a guy like Saquon, who came off at the 104, Alvin Kamara, Derrick Henry, but this time we see Jonathan Taylor. So to me, that seems like a little bit early, at least in my opinion, for who I would be looking to draft, or where I would looking to be drafted Jonathan Taylor, because I just feel like there's a little more risk with him versus a guy like Saquon Barkley and Derrick Henry, who have done it year in, year out. Now, interesting enough, not a single wide receiver has came off the board, but Travis Kelce gets picked there at the 106. At the 107 is Alvin Kamara. So now it is my turn to make a pick here, and if I'm being honest with you, I'm going to just go ahead and snag the best wide receiver in fantasy football. To me, it's very easy. It's a very safe pick because no one else has picked a wide receiver. Typically, you're not going to see Davante Adams fall to you at the 1-8, and I'm someone who drafts mostly based upon value. That's how you're going to win your draft, is not by reaching up and drafting a running back early, or by reaching up past where you should and draft a running back early, or reach on a wide receiver when you don't have to, draft a tight end too early, things like that. You want to go ahead and try to avoid those things, if you guys can understand what I was saying. So after Davante Adams comes Ezekiel Elliott, followed by Nick Chubb, Cam Akers. So what I really mean by that is that you don't want to reach in the draft. So say you're like, you know what, I really need a running back in the first round, but say you're not in love with Zeke, you're not in love with Chubb, you're not in love with Cam Akers, you're not in love with any of these guys that are available, and then you just panic pick Zeke because, hey, I need to get a running back in the first round. In my opinion, the best value was at wide receiver because not a single one has came off the board, and I felt like Davante Adams, to me, when healthy, is going to be the number one guy in fantasy football. Personally, in my opinion, Stephon Diggs will finish as number one because technically, on a year-in, year-out basis, the guy that finishes number one typically never ends up repeating in back-to-back seasons as the number one guy. But at the end of the day, I think that Davante Adams is super safe, and I do feel very confident in picking him. So after Cam Akers came off the board, someone drafted Rashad Bateman in the first round, which is just completely idiotic. Rashad Bateman is not going to be worthy of a first-round pick, even in rookie draft. So to me, that's a bit crazy. After that, we see Tyreek Hill come off the board, and we are a couple picks off. So we did go wide receiver early, which typically is not necessarily my strategy, but I wouldn't advise you to not go wide receiver early, especially when the value was on the board like we saw with that first pick. Now, we are probably going to be looking down at the running back position because I have a feeling some people are going to be looking to stack up some wide receivers in this round. Now, we are the 8th pick in this draft, and I'm not necessarily one of those guys that loves to be at the beginning of the draft, so I was very happy that we ended up getting our pick at the 8th spot. 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12 are my favorite spots in a 12-team league. Obviously, on Underdog here, it is random. So it was just based on luck that we got that. After that was Aaron Jones. That's who I was kind of eyeing down here inside of the second round. Aaron Jones, while I doubt he will be a Green Bay Packer, they did not franchise tag him, so it seems like they're not going to bring him in for a big deal, and he's going to end up going to the Dolphins, the Steelers, or somewhere else, maybe the Jets. So regardless, I see very good opportunity for Aaron Jones to eat, but obviously if he was to sign back with Green Bay, which I highly doubt, that in my opinion is probably his best landing spot. After that, we see Deandre Swift, so now we're up on the board. Wide receivers still available: Stephon Diggs, DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson, but I feel like if I don't snag a running back early here, by the time it swings back to me later on in the draft, I just don't think the wide receivers that I love will be there. So we're going to go ahead here and make an easy pick and go with J.K. Dobbins of the Baltimore Ravens. I've talked a lot about how I don't necessarily love Lamar Jackson, but what I do love about this Baltimore offense is how effectively they run the ball with Mark Ingram out. Now in Houston, the door is wide open for J.K. Dobbins to have a tremendous season on one of the most run-heavy teams in the NFL. To me, it makes the pick kind of a no-brainer in the second round. After my pick, George Kittle came off the board, followed by Austin Eckler and Darren Waller. Interesting enough, George Kittle and Waller go before the second round come to a close. I think in a lot of leagues, we are not going to see Waller or Kittle fall outside of the third round. I think there's a hard third round cutoff for both of those tight ends, and Kelsey is just going to be a first round pick every single time. This time he went a little bit early than expected at the 1-6, but to me, he's going to be one of those end of the first round picks, probably like around where I'm picking at, like the 1-8 is where you're going to really see Travis Kelce come off in a majority of drafts. I'm interested to see where Patrick Mahomes comes off in this draft. Now, obviously, every league is different. I've talked about this a million times. When it comes to the quarterback position, in some leagues, you're going to be seeing your friends or whoever you're playing with draft a quarterback in the first round, right? Or you're going to see them draft a quarterback. The first one comes off the board in like the fourth round. It really depends how sharp your league is. I just find it interesting to kind of look for it in each draft and talk about the players that are drafted and if I approve of where Patrick Mahomes has been selected. So now we're in the third round. Seems like prime Pat Mahomes time, but again, you never really know because in some of these leagues, these best ball drafts, we're drafting with some sharper type of players, and Mahomes may fall very deep down the board. After Waller came off the board was Justin Jefferson, Miles Sanders, DeAndre Hopkins, Calvin Ridley, and A.J. Brown. Like I said earlier, we are in a kind of timeline of fantasy football where the running backs are going to go very early on in the draft, and the second and third round are going to be very heavily dominated by the wide receiver position because everyone already has their stud running back one, and they're going to be looking for their wide receiver one. They're going to be trying to hunt for upside in the second round at the wide receiver position. Now, I personally think in a lot of leagues, it's not going to be the second round where we see the most wide receivers. It is going to be the third round because people nowadays are looking to stack running backs in the first two rounds. They're looking to go ahead and get their Saquon and match him with their Joe Mixon or match him with their J.K. Dobbins, their Cam Akers. They're trying to get the double stack at the running back position, which I personally do not disagree with. I think actually the best strategy is to make sure you leave the first three rounds with two running backs. I just think that guarantees that you have two stud guys at the position. And obviously, you're still going to have to draft guys later, but I still think they will have that value later on in the draft. So again, through our first two picks, we have Dobbins and Davante Adams. You cannot see them on your screen. I'll adjust after this so you can see them. But I'm going with James Robinson here in the third round. I am not at all scared of the news that, oh, they're bringing in another running back. I don't give a fuck. They're going to bring in someone, and he's going to be behind James Robinson. They had no one behind him last year. So don't be afraid of that news. I'm still 100% confident in James Robinson, unless, of course, they bring in, like, Aaron Jones or something, which would be crazy, which I don't even think would happen, because why would you pay Aaron Jones when you have James Robinson, who you're paying fucking $4 You're paying a Wendy's 4 for this guy to be on your team, because he's an undrafted rookie in his second year, technically. So second year, undrafted. You don't have to pay him any money. So don't be very concerned with bringing in a guy like Aaron Jones. To me, a lot of that talk is just dumb. After I went with James Robinson, DK Metcalf came off the board, followed by Michael Thomas and David Montgomery. So now we are going to be looking here to either go running back or wide receiver. I could go see it going really any way. I did end up moving myself so you guys can see my team better on here. Again, if you guys want to join me on here, I will be tweeting out the link. So follow me on Twitter at NotoriousFNTSY and add me on here, Notorious Fantasy FNTSY on here, and make sure to use code Notorious at checkout. Again, that was a lot of the word notorious all at once. Very interesting here to see Michael Thomas, Mr. Slant Boy, MT, fall all the way to the 10th pick in the 3rd round. The perception of Michael Thomas is down the fucking drain. No one likes him anymore. He seemed like he was healthy and he was just holding out, being a schmuck in the playoffs. He doesn't do anything. So I don't know what to think about Michael Thomas. I mean, Drew Brees is probably gone, which is not the best for Michael Thomas because Drew Brees can't hit these lasers deep down the field like he used to. If you remember in the playoff game against the Bears, you want to know who threw the laser? Famous Jameis Winston. Now, it really depends who the quarterback is going to be. Right now, I've seen reports about Taysom Hill. If they cut him, they will have enough money to go over cap. They are still under the cap. They are fucking down tremendous when it comes to cap space because even with them cutting a zillion people, they still don't have any money. So Taysom Hill might be that guy, and then they're going to have to sign Jameis Winston. So after the picks we kind of talked about here, Michael Thomas, David Montgomery, Allen Robinson, Amari Cooper, Mike Evans, and A.J. Dillon. Interesting to see A.J. Dillon go in the 4th round after the news, obviously, and the assumption around town is going to be that A.J. Dillon is going to eventually be that lead back. If you guys want to hear a full breakdown on A.J. Dillon, check it out on my channel. I made it a couple of days ago. Hopefully you guys enjoy that, but pretty much to sum it up, A.J. Dillon, to me, is going to eventually become the starter, but I don't think week 1 you're going to see A.J. Dillon really blow anyone out of the water. After that, we see Terry McLaurin, and now it is our pick. So we're going to hop back on the running back train and draft Travis Etienne, running back out of Clemson. I assume he is not going to be the first running back off the board in the real NFL draft. I think Najee Harris is a first-round pick, and I think Etienne is going to slide his way into the 2nd round, but I do think he has the potential to be a workhorse back in the NFL, and in the 4th round, even if he's not necessarily the guy instantly, in my opinion, I still have 2 guys that are the guy at the running back position to be able to play week in and week out, and Travis Etienne obviously would be my flex, but in a real redraft league, I'm probably looking not to flex Etienne week 1 unless we see reports that he's going to be the starter. He's the kind of guy that you sit down on your bench, you wait a couple weeks, then this guy takes a stranglehold of the backfield, and then you throw him in there, kind of like what I'm thinking about with A.J. Dillon, but to me, there's a clearer path to running back 1 instantly for A.J. Dillon. So after that, we see DJ Moore come off the board, followed by Josh Allen, CeeDee Lamb, Patrick Mahomes, and Chris Godwin. Very interesting to see that Josh Allen came off the board before Patrick Mahomes. I think in pretty much every single league, we are going to see unanimously Patrick Mahomes be the number 1 guy off the board. I understand last year, a lot of people talked themselves into Lamar Jackson, but he just frankly did not perform all that well, to the point where I feel like it is going to be guaranteed Pat Mahomes as the number 1 guy. There's going to be people who rank people higher than Patrick Mahomes. But to me, if you want to be the safest, you're going quarterback early, you're drafting a quarterback in the 4th round, just go ahead and play it safe and draft Patrick Mahomes. After we saw Patrick Mahomes come off the board, Chris Godwin, followed by Kareem Hunt, Robert Woods, T. Higgins, and Julio Jones. Just like with Michael Thomas, we have seen a outstanding fall off of Julio Jones' ADP. Julio Jones is a guy that pretty much every single year, for like the last, 6 years, 5 years I've been playing fantasy football. I've been playing since I was 8, so I've been playing for like 10 plus years, but last 6 years, you're seeing Julio just come off the board pretty much instantly in drafts, and now we're seeing him fall, which is very interesting because I still think he has a whole lot of value and potential as a wide receiver 1 in fantasy football in 2021. After that, we see Mark Andrews. Mark Andrews definitely fell off the face of the fucking earth because Lamar wasn't looking all that hot, but I think if the Ravens actually commit to drafting a wide receiver or bringing a guy in, we could really see Mark Andrews have a lot of success this season. After that, it's Adam Thielen, Kenny Gallaudet. Now, with Kenny Gallaudet, we don't know what team he's going to end up going to. But what I do know is that he's an outstanding talent and is certainly worth a 5th round pick. Next up, we have another person and then one more person. That's my pick. Brandon Ayuk comes off the board, so we're definitely going to be looking to get some wide receiver value at this pick. So I'm going to go ahead and select wide receiver. Still available, Chase Claypool, who I like a decent amount. Cooper Kupp, who I like a decent amount. Tyler Lockett is a guy I hate in real redraft leagues, but in best ball leagues, I like Tyler Lockett because he's a real boom or bust wide receiver who's going to have those really big games, but will also have a down game, but you won't have to start him in your your lineup, but I'm going to go ahead and select Cooper Kupp here with the bringing in of Matthew Stafford. I am 100% confident that Cooper Kupp is going to have a great 2021 season. I think this whole LA Rams offense is going to be something that I'm really sold in on. Now, we did see Robert Woods go slightly ahead of Cooper Kupp, and that's honestly who I would prefer. Robert Woods at the 4.12, and we went ahead and got Cooper Kupp at the 5.8. So with the pretty much round discount, I am very happy, though, getting Cooper Kupp in this round, and I think that he is going to explode in this offense. We've seen Cooper Kupp be amazing in the past. Last year played pretty well, but that's with Jared Goff. Now he has a quarterback that, in my opinion, is a top 8 quarterback in the NFL, and Stafford, when he's on, when this man is hot, he has the potential to be a top 5 guy in the NFL. He's a very accurate passer, could throw it all over the field, and I think he's going to love utilizing Cooper Kupp in this offense. After with Kupp, we see rookie running back out of UNC, Javonte Williams, come off the board, followed by Chase Claypool and Cortland Sutton. Now, out of the Pittsburgh wide receivers, I am most on Deontay Johnson. I really think that Deontay Johnson is a guy that is going to have not even a bounce back season, right? Because he did put up big numbers last year, but he did not do it on a consistent basis. We've seen him have those games where he is just bending over a defense and relentlessly raw dogging them until they end up passing out. And we've seen games where Deontay Johnson's getting the ball and it's instantly flying out of his hands, and he has trouble at wrapping his hand around the ball, but I think he's going to end up being able to fix that in the offseason and being very effective, since it seems like right now Juju Smith-Schuster is out in Pittsburgh. He even went on to, I believe this was a Sports Illustrated post, and it said, will Juju play in Pittsburgh or not? And Juju himself voted no. So is that some type of contract negotiation tactic, or is that complete bullshit? And he wants to be back in Pittsburgh, what I've read, but I have no idea what Juju wants. What I do know is that he wants a Corvette because he loves that song. After that, Chase Claypool, we see Cortland Sutton followed by L-Jax and Kyler Murray. Very interesting. We've seen 4 quarterbacks come off the board thus far. To me, the quarterback value is very good in these drafts. I'll happily take a guy like Dak Prescott in the 8th round, even if Rodgers falls that far. Stafford, those are the kind of guys I'm looking for. Now, since this is a best ball draft and it is kind of a larger draft, obviously it takes many more rounds all the way to 18. You kind of have to draft multiple quarterbacks, whereas typically I'm not a guy who looks to draft 2 quarterbacks. I typically just go ahead and take my one, and if he ends up sucking ass, I'm thinking Burrow's gonna have a great year. He fucking sucks. Then I just cut him, add a new guy, or cut one of those wide receivers that are on my bench. But obviously, this is a best ball draft, so you don't even have to edit your lineup. You just throw this out there, and the computer generates your lineup week in and week out. Justin Herbert comes off the board over Dak Prescott, which I find pretty interesting. I do like Herbert, though, a lot. So we are going to hop back onto the wide receiver train here. The tight ends are not looking super hot here. We can see that TJ Hawkinson's still available, Noah Fant. No one I'm super on board with. So we're going to go ahead and go against my grain and go with Tyler Lockett, strictly because of the fact that this is best ball. If this was a redraft league, I have talked about it before on my channel. I am completely fading Tyler Lockett due to the complete inconsistency week in and week out. This guy will drop his fucking elbow drop style, dropping 60 points on a team. Maybe not 60. 40 points he scores on a defense. And then the next week, this man will be playing up against a bunch of scrubs and score like 6 points. And there's also the potential that Russell Wilson may be out in Seattle. Now, I see that as pretty much impossible at this point, but again, you never know, and that would definitely hurt Tyler Lockett's value, and even more going to hurt DK's value, because DK is a guy going in the top 2 rounds of drafts as of right now. Tyler Boyd was the next pick after mine. Extreme value, in my opinion. I love Tyler Boyd, but there's obviously the potential that they end up drafting a wide receiver or end up drafting Kyle Pitts in the first round, which is going to end up kind of screwing over the value of a guy like Tyler Boyd inside of the 6th round, and as well as kind of screwing over T. Higgins. After that, we see DJ Chark, who's also a guy where they might bring in some wide receivers to Jacksonville to complement Mr. Trevor Lawrence touchdown Jesus out of Clemson, which is scary as well. After that, we see Chris Carson come off the board, followed by Melvin Gordon, Dak Prescott, and Kenyon Drake. Kenyon Drake is very interesting because we don't know where he's going to play. I doubt he re-signs in Arizona, and I think that pick we went with Etienne earlier, Travis Etienne out of Clemson, he has the potential to be a running back for the Cardinals if they can get him in the 2nd round, which would be a very juicy landing spot. But without knowing where Kenyon Drake is going to go, I don't feel ultra confident in him, considering he was down tremendous last season and really didn't do anything, even with my very high expectations of the guy. Considering down the stretch in 2019, this guy was on fire. Then in 2020, he went complete and utter limp dick. After Dak and Kenyon Drake, we see Odell Beckham Jr. Odell's just a guy that I don't plan on drafting at all in 2020. I'm not sold in at all to the fact that this guy's even going to be a Browns receiver in 2021. I think there's a chance that they trade him, because if you look at it last year, they are not playing too great with Odell Beckham Jr. Then Odell is gone. He's hurt. And then you guys saw what happened. Once Odell got hurt, the team went hard. They made the playoffs. So it is definitely, in my opinion, worrisome for Odell. He goes back-to-back with two very unsure picks for 2021 with Juju Smith-Schuster. I'm, again, not sold in on where Juju's going to be going. I don't think he's going to be a Steeler, but if he's a Jet, am I ultra confident in Sam Darnold or the quarterback they bring in year one as a rookie to dominate? I don't think so. And then I'm thinking maybe he'll be a Las Vegas Raider, and to me, that's the best landing spot for him. I actually wouldn't mind drafting Juju in that scenario. So now we got a couple of picks until we are back up. Our team so far, we got J.K. Dobbins, James Robinson, Travis Etienne, Devontae Adams, Cooper Kupp, and Tyler Lockett. So we are going to have to end up drafting a tight end eventually. The tight ends are still looking kind of all right. Now, again, I told you guys I wasn't super bought in on these guys in the 6th round, but in the 7th round, a guy like TJ Hawkinson, who was very good last season, to me, screams nice value here in the 7th round. I understand that Jared Goff isn't the guy Stafford is, which I talked about earlier. I definitely don't believe that obviously he's as good as Stafford, but what I do think is that all these wide receivers are going to be gone. I think Jones is gone. Gallaudet is back, but is he really back? They might end up trading him. He might end up going to a different team. They didn't end up tagging him. I apologize. I kind of messed up and mixed up Robinson and Gallaudet, who are two receivers I really like, but if Gallaudet is gone, maybe Hawkinson is the only guy getting targets, and we just see a tremendous season. So I do kind of like his value in the 7th round, but I am kind of the guy that likes to target tight ends super late in the draft. I'll be happy with a guy like Irv Smith, a guy like Tyler Higbee, especially in a best ball draft where you can draft a couple, and week in, week out, you don't have to make that decision. At running back, it is just a complete and utter hellhole. David Johnson was a guy I kind of liked in the 7th round until they brought in Mark Ingram, who just completely sucks all the value out of that offense. So I think here we're going to go with my guy in Raheem Mostert. I think he is going to be the running back one for the team in 2021. They obviously could draft a running back, but they like to use the hot hand approach, and I think he'll be hot enough for a couple of games to correctly be able to predict when you want to start him. But here in best ball, you don't even have to do that, so that makes it even sweeter. We see Deshaun Watson go before us, which is pretty interesting, because I guess the reason why he's getting drafted behind a guy like Herbert is because we don't know where he's going to play, and there's also the potential that Watson says, fuck all of you, and just sits out. Just doesn't play, doesn't go to practice, has a extreme holdout, maybe doesn't play all season. Now, I think eventually he would come back, right, during the season, but to really get what Deshaun Watson wants, he might have to sit out the whole fucking season, which would be very crazy. After we went with Mostert, sadly, Hawkinson came off the board, followed by Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson. Again, I think Russell Wilson will be the quarterback of the team in 2021 for Seattle, but there's always that chance that he's not. And maybe that's better for him. But I think in Seattle probably is his best value in fantasy. In real life, the Bears would be fucking nasty if they had him. But Seattle, for his fantasy points value, his value in fantasy, I would prefer he was on the Seattle Seahawks. After that, we see Hollywood Brown come off the board. Hollywood Brown, to me, is just one of those guys that you draft because you're playing best ball, I guess, right? You're just thinking, let me get Hollywood Brown because he's going to have a couple games where he scores like 20 points. And then the other games, he's just complete shit. So in a real league, there's no way. Regular redraft league, I'm not drafting Hollywood Brown, because he doesn't even fall to the value where I want him. To me, he's like a 9th, 10th round flyer pick. But here he's getting drafted in the 7th round. So that's a little, not a little bit, that's a lot of too early for me. Interestingly here, I am kind of looking at quarterback. I really want Matthew Stafford, so he's probably going to be the guy I select here in the 8th round. I like to wait on quarterback, but I don't want to wait too late to where I'm stuck with a guy like Kirk Cousins or Matt Ryan, because I honestly think Matt Ryan, there's potential that he gets pulled next year. I don't feel like that's a 100% chance, but I do think there's a possibility that maybe they draft Lance and Lance just flies in, or Justin Fields. After Hollywood comes Myles Gaskin, who I really like as a Dolphins fan, but I think Aaron Jones might be coming to town in Miami. After that, we see Curtis Samuel, very interesting, where he's going to land. Jarvis Landry, super safe pick in your league, because especially if they kick Odell out of there, it's going to be very nice for Jarvis Landry. Devonta Smith came off the board, so now we can go quarterback. I do like Jalen Hurts a bunch, but I think the safer pick here is Matthew Stafford. I think he's going to have a great season, and we have that connection of Kupp and Stafford on our team. Now, when I'm drafting in my leagues, I'm not necessarily looking to load up on a stack. A stack is a quarterback and a wide receiver on the same team. Now, you can also stack quarterback and tight end. You can get Matthew Stafford, and you can go ahead and draft, I guess last year you could have done Stafford, and then you could have went ahead and got Hawkinson. This year it'd be Stafford and Higbee, but I'm not really looking to do that with Stafford, but there are teams where you can do that. For instance, you can go ahead and get a guy early on in the draft like Patrick Mahomes, and if you had the earliest on first round pick, you can snag Kelsey and Mahomes, which sounds pretty good, but then your running back depth is kind of screwed. So there's really only a couple of teams where you can stag the quarterback with the tight end. After that, we see Noah Fant came off the board, followed by Michael Gallup. Gallup's a very interesting piece in best ball leagues because he is going to have really big games and some down games when Lamb and when Amari Cooper are eating, which kind of makes that wide receiver core scary to me in redraft fantasy because I really do like all of those players, but it's going to be impossible with all of those mouths to feed. How is Cooper going to have a big game while Zeke has a big game, while Gallup has a big game, while CeeDee Lamb has a big game? The answer is it can't. It really can't. So I'm kind of looking away from a guy like Gallup because it seemed like Gallup was the odd man out last season. After we saw Michael Gallup came David Johnson, which is a nice value in the 8th round, followed by Jalen Hurts, who I made a whole video talking about him for like 5 minutes. He's a guy that I really like, but I just feel a little bit safer with Matthew Stafford, especially since I feel like the Lions are going to be an actually really good team, whereas Philly to me just seems like they're in dumpster fire city in Philly at this current point. I mean, they went from being Super Bowl champions to this, to loving Carson Wentz, to kicking him out of town. Very weird. After that, we see Chase Edmonds, and this guy has 6 wide receivers up to board and only 1 running back, which is very interesting. He said, fuck the running backs, man. Fuck them kids, which is very interesting. We're seeing a lot of people go heavy on the wide receivers in these drafts. I'm not typically about going super heavy wide receiver and waiting on later running backs because right now, the running back position is very weird. I like Jeff Wilson. We already have Mostert, but there's also potential Wilson could obviously pass him. I like Nyheim Hines. I kind of like Gus Edwards, but again, those aren't guys I'm comfortable starting week in and week out. So after Edmonds came a nice run on quarterbacks right there with Ryan Tannehill and Joe Burrow. Now, my friend Lucas Kaser on Twitter, sent me something that says that rookie tight ends have never finished in the top 10 in the last, I believe, 10 years. So maybe Pitts is that guy who does it, right? Because Pitts is a fucking freak, but people said Evan Ingram was a freak. So I'm not telling you to be off of Pitts because I really like Pitts and I would fucking draft him in the 9th round. But what I'm saying is that don't blow your load drafting Pitts a little too early with how rookie tight ends have been on average across a very long period of time. But it also depends on landing spots because if Kyle Pitts lands on a team with a high-powered offense, you're going to really like Pitts, especially if he's on Arizona. After we saw Pitts came Jerry Judy, Laviska Shenault, and Devontae Parker. I'm very much on a bounce-back season for Jerry Judy. It seems like the drops hopefully end. Hopefully Drew Lock isn't the quarterback. I like Drew Lock, but I just don't think he's up there with the caliber of a guy like Deshaun Watson or Russell Wilson. That could potentially go there. Or maybe they draft a quarterback there, obviously. You never know at this point. So after we saw Devontae Parker came... what's his name? Dallas Goedert. I forgot his first name. Mr. Goedert is a guy I also really like a lot at the tight end position. I think that with them potentially, unless they bring in Pitts, because if they bring in Pitts, it screws everything over. But Goedert is a very talented tight end. Zach Ertz is out of there. So Goedert seems like he's the heir to the throne over there in Philly. And they really don't have any wide receivers besides fucking Dallas Goedert. And he is not even a wide receiver. I kind of like Logan Thomas. Oh my God. I thought I said Logan Thomas and he got picked, but it was Uncle Lenny Fournette. I like Logan Thomas. I meant to just do tight end. I like Robert Tonyan. I like Gesicki. I like Irv Smith, but I'm going to go with Logan Thomas. I see another good season out of him. Now, it might be fool's gold where he had one really good year and then he goes back to being bad, but I don't feel like they're going to draft a wide receiver early. I feel like it's going to be another McLaurin and Logan Thomas season, so I'm going to happily draft Logan Thomas here. Obviously, with Taylor Heineke potentially being the quarterback, maybe they're able to secure Mac Jones. Maybe they're able to bring in a guy like famous Jameis Winston. But again, you never really know. We are doing this early, and if you guys have ended up enjoying this very early mock draft, please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. So after Logan Thomas came Darnell. Here comes the Monet. Corey Davis, Jalen Waddle. Interesting we see Monet go over Corey Davis, because while we don't know where Corey Davis is going to play, I'm still pretty confident Corey Davis is a very good player, and Monet is very much a project of a player. Maybe not, though, because maybe with an accurate quarterback, they'll be able to hit a guy who's wide open half the fucking time. Shocker. That would be in Chicago. Hopefully you guys have ended up enjoying. I understand I'm talking a mile a minute. I'm having a fun time here. Again, this is going to be a longer video, so if you guys... I understand if you leave, but please make sure you hit that subscribe button before you do. We're around 30 minutes into this video, so comment down below, GOAT, if you made it all the way through here, and I'll make sure to thumbs up your comment. I really appreciate talking to you guys in the comments as well. Thank you guys for the support. As of recently, we're almost in April. It's almost draft season, and after the draft season, it's full-on fantasy season, because that's when you can really do your deep dive in analysis of it, especially also after free agency, which is next week. Everyone loves that free agency, especially me. So now we are going to be back up on the board in 3 picks. Pittman came out the board. Robert Tonyan. I like Tonyan, but not as much as Logan Thomas, in my opinion. Mike Williams. Mike Will made it. So we're 2 picks away. We got 1, 2, 3, 4 running backs. We have 1, 2, 3 receivers, 1 tight end, 1 quarterback. Now, typically I'm not a guy that drafts quarterbacks super early, but I feel like I can wait, but again, in a best ball league, you need to make sure you get 2 quarterbacks, potentially even 3 quarterbacks in your draft. So we're probably going to be looking running back or wide out at this pick. Jeff Wilson's still available, but I'm going to go wide out here. Go with the guy that I like a lot, and that's Gabe Davis in Buffalo with Jonathan Brown gone. It opens the door wide open for Gabe to be the number 2 guy there behind Stephon Diggs. We've seen him do it in the past. We saw him do it in the playoffs. Gabe Davis was lighting it up, and I think we see him light it up like Snoop Doggy Dogg in 2021 after that. Shout out to Underdog, Doggy Dog. We see a triple threesome at the quarterback position at the 10-6, 10-7, and 10-8. Tampa Bay, Tom Brady, Kirk Cousins, and Trevor Lawrence, followed by Mr. AB. Business is booming. Where do you guys think AB will fall to in real life? Do you think he re-signs with Tampa? Or do you think a team like the Ravens potentially takes a chance to bring him in there? Or another team that needs a wide receiver? Because to me, I think Antonio Brown could go to a different team, but I think Tom Brady might potentially be holding the fucking Infinity Gauntlet, or whatever that thing's called, from that Thanos has got, the Infinity Gauntlet, I believe, that he has all the stones, right? Just to maintain Antonio Brown, whereas the other teams, they just don't have that. They're the Avengers. They're trying to get it back. So after Jeff Wilson comes Mavin Jones, who's a guy I love, but we don't know where he's going to play. Definitely out in Detroit. If you guys watched his press conference after the season, this guy pretty much held up both his middle fingers to the Detroit organization. He wants out, and I believe he will be on a new team in 2021. Hopefully, my Dolphins. Winky wink. After Marvin Jones, we had Matt Ryan, Chuba Hubbard, and Jamison Crowder come off the board. Hubbard is a guy that really is going to fall in the NFL draft, because this guy, if you're watching college football last year, Chuba Hubbard seemed like he had the potential to be a first-round pick. This guy's like literally running over guys, being a beast. And then fast forward to this year, doesn't play that well. So I don't really know what to think about him. After that, we see Rashad Penny and Hunter Henry. Rashad Penny is going to get drafted so early in these drafts. The 11th round isn't necessarily early, but he is never going to sniff the field. Keep buying into Rashad Penny, fellas. I don't know who this guy is. Greater Saints, shout out to you. Seem like you're probably a nice guy, but I'm never going to believe in Rashad Penny. After that, we see Hunter Henry, Gus Bus Edwards, Tony Pollard, and Kenneth Gainwell. I do like Gus Edwards a lot, and I'm kind of sad I won't be getting him here. So now we're going to hop back on to, let's look at the quarterbacks. Yeah, they're really starting to fall off here. So we're going to snag another one. Typically, I'm not about drafting 2 quarterbacks, but I really do like Carson Wentz in Indianapolis. It's a whole new change of scenery that this man desperately needed. He was playing like absolute shit in Philly last year. The weapons were terrible. The team was terrible. And when Hurts went in, it was like what is that thing called? Where if you're watching the video where you fucking put the 2 things together, you go beep, and you fucking smack it down there. Defibrillator, maybe is what it's called. Whatever that is called. That's what he needs, one of those. And maybe he'll wake up and be great in 2021 in Indianapolis in a new team with a good offensive line, good receivers, better coaching. Maybe that helps a quarterback. Who would have fucking guessed? Next up, we have Denzel Mims, or after Carson Wentz was Baker Mayfield, followed by Denzel Mims and Jalen Reagor. Very happy I got Wentz there, knowing that this guy probably would have went with Wentz. Baker Mayfield, to me, not the greatest fantasy quarterback. In real life, he's perfectly fine, but I don't think the Browns' goal in a game is to go out there and pass a million times. Their goal is to establish the run a million times with Chubb, run a million times with Mr. Kareem Hunt, and win the game. It's that simple. After that, we see Jalen Reagor. Yikes of a rookie season for him. Maybe a bounce back. Hopefully a bounce back for him. Mike Licky on Gesicki closing out the 11th round. I love Mike Gesicki as a Dolphins fan. I think we see him really explode and play even better into his second year of his NFL career. Next up, after Hines, we see Evan Ingram followed... Ooh, Evan Ingram. Yikes. Evan Ingram, I get drafting him. I'm not dissing the fact that someone drafted him. He's just a yikes of a player because he has all of the athleticism, all of this skill set of one of the best tight ends in the league, but he just can't catch the ball. He played really bad last year. Maybe we see a better version of him in 2021. After we saw Evan Ingram, we see Derek Carr and then Rondale Moore off the board. So now we're back up here. We got 2 quarterbacks, 4 running backs, and 4 wide receivers, and a tight end. Again, guys, in these videos, you don't necessarily have to worry about who I'm picking. It's more about my explanation behind these picks. So we're going to go with a running back in J.D. McKissic. I just think that he's still going to be getting somewhat of a workload behind Antonio Gibson. I don't think Antonio Gibson's necessarily always going to be a 3-down back. I think they're going to use McKissic behind him. And if Gibson was to go down, I think McKissic would fit very well there and will perform. And we did see that deep down the stretch of last season after Gibson got hurt. After that, we see Michael Carter, other UNC running back, come off the board, followed by Cole Kmet and Tyler Higbee. We're probably going to have to go ahead and snag our second tight end soon because they're really going to start to fall off the cliff. I don't know why Gronk is ranked so low on these websites. Like, I understand he didn't have a great regular season, but there he goes off the board as I'm talking about him, as I'm on my knees sucking the guy off. He gets fucking drafted, but, I mean, he played good in the playoffs. Maybe he'll have a better season next year. Maybe it just took a while to jumpstart Gronk, considering he was fucking retired, and decided to come out to play with Mr. Tom Brady, and he won that Super Bowl. I like Hayden Hurst a lot. Now, I understand I really liked him last year. If you guys watched me last year, I was very much in favor of Hayden Hurst. And he fucking wasn't that great, but he wasn't bad, right? Like, if you drafted him in the 12th round where he was going, you weren't mad that you drafted him, but he just wasn't great. But he only really had 2 down games. They were against the Saints, where he played like dick both games. After Gronk, we see Mike Davis come off the board. That's a pick I love. I think he will be back in Carolina, but maybe he goes somewhere else. He's definitely one of the better backups in the NFL. We saw him get put in after McCaffrey was hurt and ball out. So I have a lot of belief in Mike Davis as a handcuff for whatever team he ends up going to. Maybe he resigns to Carolina, or maybe they have to re-sign him because they traded Christian McCaffrey for the Dolphins' 3rd pick for Deshaun Watson in a big trade. You never know. After that, we see James Conner, Big Ben Roethlisberger. Big Ben coming back. What a surprise. I really thought he was going to hang up the cleats and just give it a quits. But he's back again to play all right again. I mean, he's not washed up. People are talking about him like he's washed up. He's really not. But he's just not Big Ben of like... Even 2017 Ben was really fucking good. But recently, if you guys see the picture, every time someone brings something up about Big Ben, I post a picture of him with all the ice packs on. He has like 4 ice packs on, a fucking knee brace. He has crutches, a wheelchair, all that shit, because he's just always hurt. He's always on the injury report every single week. But I don't know if he's ever actually hurt. That's the funniest part about it. So now it is our turn to pick. After that, we saw Jamal Williams, Sterling Shepard, Alexander Mattison, and Justin Fields. Fields is an interesting pick, but I don't know if he's going to play much. It really depends on where he's drafted. We're going to go with Hayden Hurst here. I feel pretty confident in a better second year in 2021 in that system. Obviously, he's been in the NFL for a while, but he has only been in Atlanta for one season. Now we are back up looking here at pretty much any position. I got to scroll back to see how many of each position we have. We have 2 quarterbacks, 5 running backs, 4 wide receivers, and 2 tight ends. So we're probably going to load up on the rest of the way, running backs and wide receiver, potentially take a quarterback at the end. So wide receivers here are looking a bit grim, but so are the running backs. But there are some bright spots here. John Brown has the potential to be a wide receiver 2 on a new team. Nelson Aguilar, still really good. I mean, fucking sucked the first 4 years of his career in Philly, but really changed himself in Las Vegas, because like I say, you can catch anything in Las Vegas, and now he finally caught the ball and someone fucking drafted him. Way to go, Nick, for talking about him. Jacoby Myers, I mean, who do the Patriots have to throw the ball to? No one. Kadarius Toney, no idea where he's going to play, but he's an interesting pick. Same thing with Terrence Marshall. You're kind of just betting that they land on a good spot where they'll play. Preston Williams, like a decent amount. Down here even further, I love Julian Edelman, but he's like all the way down. He's down tremendous. We're at Julian Edelman all the way down here. So that's a very interesting pick. Down there at running back, Latavius, it's all backups obviously here, and you're just hoping that one of these guys somehow hits. I mean, Philip Lindsay, he's just like one of those guys that I'll probably end up drafting every single year, because if Gordon was to go down and they bring him back, obviously, I don't know if they're going to bring him back, but if they do, then he's good. But Darrell Henderson I really like. If Cam Akers was to go down, Henderson has proven over his career that he can be a very dominant back. Not like fucking Saquon Barkley dominant, but like serviceable to where he can start and you don't hate it. So he's a guy that I'm probably going to be looking at. James White, I think he's out in New England, and he's going to get on his fucking, hop in a plane and fly down to meet up with Tampa Bay Tom Brady in Tampa, be the pass-catching running back. I think Uncle Lenny is gone, and I think James White, back in the lineup with Tom. That guy should have a fucking Super Bowl MVP. Why the fuck did he not win that when they came back 28-3 up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? Not against the Bucs, up against the Atlanta Falcons. We're going to go ahead here and pick Darrell Henderson. I talked about it already. With Akers potentially, if he was to get hurt, we have a very solid running back behind him. Malcolm Brown likely gone, so very good situation for Henderson. And now, guys, we are very far into the draft. We are in round 14. There's only 4 more picks left for me because there's 18 rounds on this website. Some websites are different, but again, only 14 here on Underdog. So we're going to be looking here to snag up some more running backs and wide receivers. We only have 4 wide receivers, so we're probably going to dabble up the wide receivers here. We are 10 picks away, so maybe a guy like MVS, Allen Lazard. I really like John Brown. Again, we don't know where he's going to play, but I just love the fucking guy. He's really good. Very underrated player, in my opinion, in the NFL. But it's good for me because I was able to get Gabe Davis that John Brown's gone, but it's sad for John Brown because he really deserves a chance to be good in Buffalo, in my opinion. Just so you guys know, when there's like a jump in time, it's because I just kind of had to take a drink or something, or I just fucking didn't want to sound like a dumbass and say something that makes no sense, start like rambling on, because that's just what'll happen. I know people do enjoy the rambling, so there will be other videos where I don't stop talking and I'm just talking about random shit like Jameis eating a W, and I reenact it and I talk about how he's going to be a killer, stone cold killer, my Stratonites. Shout out to Jordan Belfort. I like Jameis Winston. But Donald Parham, very interesting because he might be the tight end 1 in Los Angeles if Hunter Henry is gone, like we believe he will be. Tua getting picked at the 15-3. My guy, Tua Tagovailoa, my favorite quarterback in the NFL. Great pick deep down in the draft. Interesting to see if people are going with 3 or 2 quarterbacks. I think 3 is probably the safest bet, but we are going to go ahead and go wide receiver here. There's not a lot of quarterbacks left, so we're going to go ahead and snag my guy, John Brown. Again, probably not going to be a Buffalo Bill, but I do think that whatever team he goes to, it will be recipes for success for Mr. John Brown, as long as he lands in the right space. after we went ahead and drafted John Brown, DJ Dallas, DJ Khaled off the board, followed by James White. Sad we didn't get him. Al Lazard, Tariq Cohen. Funny as fuck that Tariq Cohen was like the 13th highest paid running back in the NFL at one point. The Bears are just incompetent. Straight up incompetent. Straight up just dumb. This guy only has one quarterback. What the fuck is he thinking? Give your head a shake, bud. I mean, who's available at quarterback? I mean, Jimmy G and Sam Darnold are the only guys I see out of here that I know are going to start. I don't even think Darnold plays for the Jets, but I think he's going to start. Lance? Interesting. Lance could start, though, as well, so not necessarily going to throw a wrench at that one. At tight end, late, I really like, if you're just going to say, fuck it, right, YOLO, I'm going to go ahead and select the tight end super late in the draft. I'm going to be looking at, sorry guys if I'm incompetent at clicking, but I really like Adam Troutman. Jared Cook's leaving for a reason because they believe in Troutman in New Orleans. But we are going to snag another wide receiver here to make sure we balance out the roster. Now, in redraft, I want you guys to draft more running backs than wide receivers because it's much easier to find a wide receiver off the waiver wire that you can literally play every week. But for running backs, that's very hard to do, to just find one off the waivers, unless you're in like an 8-team league. But if you're in like a 12-team league, it's going to be pretty difficult. So now we are back up here on the board, and we're going to get my guy, Julian Edelman. We're just going to reach down into the draft and get him because when he plays, he's good. When he plays, he's good. It's as simple as that. Even with Cam Newton, if he plays, he's going to be good, and he's going to be worth the 16th round pick because it's better than just a shot in the dark on Quintez Cephas, potentially being the only wide receiver in Detroit, or on Tylan Wallace, who hasn't even been drafted yet. So that's what I would do. Cam off the board. Interesting. I didn't even think about drafting Cam, mainly because he sucked cock last year. He was terrible. But, I mean, in the 16th round of a best ball draft, that's pretty solid value considering the other guys you were going to end up taking. So Cam's going to be a guy that I was not even thinking about. My brain didn't even comprehend drafting Cam Newton because it's almost like I just don't want him. In a redraft league, I'm definitely not drafting him. No fucking way, Jose. Am I drafting that man? So we do have 2 picks left, pick 17 and 18 of the draft. Again, if you guys have enjoyed, I mean, you definitely enjoyed because you made it this far into the video. Make sure to hit that subscribe button down below. I would really appreciate it. I'll be doing drafts on here every week. So again, make sure you sign up using my code. It helps me a lot. So please do that. It really does. It would help me more than just watching every single fucking video I put out. If you just use that code once, it helps me a ton. So thank you guys a lot if you could do that for me. If not, again, it's all good. I just like that you guys watch the videos personally. It's just, actually, you know what? That was a lie because monetarily, it helps me more if you just, use my code. But in reality, I'd prefer if you just watched every video. You had a fun time with me because I love you. And I love everyone who watches my videos, just so you guys know. Even if you try to fucking flame me in the comments saying, Nick, you dumb motherfucker, why'd you draft him over him? I like talking about it in the comments. I have a fun time. So, again, even if you say something negative, I just think it's funny normally, so I won't even be responding negatively or anything. I just like having fun. Some other picks to talk about here. Dawson Knox, that's just a throwaway. Adam Troutman, I like a lot. LaMichael P. Ryan might fuck around and be the starting running back in New York. I mean, he's actually a pretty good handcuff because he was pretty good last year, and I kind of believe in him, which is weird. But I do. I think he's actually pretty solid. So we can get our quarterback here, and Mono Man Sam, mainly because he's going to actually start in the NFL next year, in my opinion. Some of these guys won't. So now we're going to go ahead and make our final pick of the draft, and we're probably just going to go ahead and snag another wide receiver because, in my opinion, that is the best strategy here to get 7 wide receivers. So we're going to go ahead and go with whoever falls our way that I really like. Mariota-san was picked before us, Marcus Mariota. If you guys watch Pat Mayo, that's where the Mariota-san comes from. Shout out to him. That's a great guy on YouTube as well. Mariota seems like he may be on the move, but with Jimmy G likely being the quarterback of the Niners, where does he even go? I don't even know. But we are back up on the board here, and we're going wide receiver, and we're going to take a shot here. And we're going with some tequila. Because we're going to go with something a bit insane here. A bit wild. Because there's a guy that I actually like a lot. And that's going to be, where is he? Anthony Miller. I feel like every year is the Anthony Miller breakout year, but maybe this one actually is it. So, you never know. So thank you guys all so much for watching this video. Obviously, there's still a couple of picks left in the draft, but pretty much you guys got what occurred here. We had a fun time doing this draft, and make sure you hit that subscribe button down below if you enjoyed, and please use my link if you want to sign up. I love you guys all. I hope you enjoyed the mock draft. I hope you guys enjoyed my breakdown of every single pick. Now, these videos take an hour to record. The other ones where I'm drafting against a computer take like 25 minutes, but to be honest with you, it's a little more fun to sit down for an hour and just shoot the shit, talking randomly with myself, playing with myself, jerking off over here. Have a great rest of you guys' day. I'm not actually doing that. Both my hands are here. Have a great rest of you guys' day. I love you all. Goodbye.